Welcome to this channel. Here we use English to talk about real life, about your mind, your time, your habits, your money, and your future. If you enjoy content that helps you grow step by step while you improve your English, consider subscribing. It is a small click, but it tells the platform and tells me that this kind of conversation is important for you. Now let us talk about money. Money is one of the most powerful forces in your life, even if you do not like to think about it. Money influences where you live. Money affects what you eat. Money changes how safe you feel when something unexpected happens. Money can give you options. Money can also create fear, shame, and conflict. Some people spend their whole life chasing money. Some people spend their whole life running away from money. Many people feel they are always behind, always stressed, always trying to survive. In this audio, I want to invite you to see money in a different way. Not as a monster, not as a god, but as a game. A game you did not choose. A game that is not always fair. But still, a game with rules you can learn, skills you can practice, and strategies you can use to build more peace and more freedom over time. We are going to explore two big dimensions: your mindset and your relationship with money, and practical steps to manage your money and build wealth step by step. You do not need to be rich to start. You do not need to understand everything about finance. You just need the courage to be honest with yourself and the willingness to begin. Let us start with your story about money. When you were a child, you were already learning how this game works, even if nobody sat down to teach you. Maybe you heard sentences like, "We cannot afford that." Money does not fall from the sky. Money is not everything. Money is everything. Rich people are selfish. We are poor, but we are honest. If you work hard, you will be safe. Do not talk about money, it is impolite. These sentences created a kind of background music in your mind. Over time, they became beliefs. Maybe you believe, "I am bad with money. I am not the kind of person who gets rich. If I have a lot of money, people will hate me. Money always disappears. Talking about money is rude." These beliefs do not stay only in your mind. They influence your behavior. If you believe you are bad with money, you will feel shame every time you make a mistake. That shame will make you avoid looking at your numbers. When you avoid your numbers, your situation usually gets worse. Then you say, "See, I really am bad with money." The belief becomes stronger. So before we talk about numbers, we need to talk about feelings. Take a small moment and notice. When you hear the word money, what happens inside you? Do you feel tension in your chest or stomach? Do you feel anger or sadness? Do you feel desire and excitement? Do you feel confusion and fog? Do you feel nothing because you learn to disconnect from this subject? There is no right or wrong here. There is only reality. If you want to build wealth, you need to be able to stay present with this subject, even when it feels uncomfortable. Now let us try a new perspective. What if money is not good or bad? What if money is neutral? Money is a tool. Money is a language. Money is a game. A tool you can use to take care of yourself and others. A language that describes value, choices, and priorities. A game with rules, where some people learn to play well, and others never read the manual. When you see money like this, you can move from fear to curiosity. Instead of saying, "I hate money," or "I am terrible with money," you can ask, How does this actually work? What am I doing that helps me? What am I doing that hurts me? What can I change, step by step? Let us now talk about the basic rules of this game. Rule 1. Know your score. In any game, you need to know the score to understand if you are losing, winning, or just staying in the same place. In the money game, your score is not only your salary, it is the whole picture. How much comes in? How much goes out? How much stays? If you never look at this, you're playing with your eyes closed. Many people live like this. They work, they receive money, they tap the card, they pay some bills. They hope it will be enough. If someone asks, "How much do you spend per month on food?" they say, "I do not really know." If someone asks, "How much debt do you have?" they say, "I prefer not to think about it." Playing blind is extremely stressful. You always feel a vague anxiety. You are never completely sure if you can relax. You are always afraid of a surprise. The first step in playing the money game is not saving. It is not investing. It is looking. You do not need a complex system to start. You can begin with a very simple exercise. Take a paper or open a note on your phone. Write at the top, "My money picture." Then create 2 lists. One list is for income, money that comes in. Your salary, freelance, small jobs, side income, anything. The other list is for expenses, money that goes out, rent or mortgage, food, transport, electricity, internet, phone, debt payments, subscriptions, health, education, and other things. For your first picture, you can approximate. It does not need to be perfect. The goal is to see the structure. Is your income clearly bigger than your expenses? Is it almost the same? Are your expenses bigger than your income? When you do this, you may feel fear, shame, or resistance. You may want to stop. But something interesting usually happens. When you finally look, even if the numbers are not good, you feel a small relief. Because now you know. You are not fighting a ghost. You are seeing a situation. Situations can be changed. Ghosts only chase you. So Rule 1 is simple and powerful. Know your score. Rule 2. Focus on the big levers, not only on the small sacrifices. When people hear about saving money, they often think of small details. No more coffee outside, no more eating out, no more small treats. Sometimes reducing small habits is useful. But if you only focus on tiny items while ignoring huge expenses, you're using a spoon to empty a swimming pool. In most personal budgets, there are a few categories that eat most of the money: housing, transport, food, debt. If you make a small improvement in a big category, the impact is greater than perfection in a tiny category. For example, if you can reduce your rent by moving to a smaller place or sharing a house for a period, that can free a big part of your income. If you can use public transport or a simpler car instead of an expensive one, your monthly costs drop. If you can cook more at home, not as a punishment, but with simple meals you like, you can reduce food costs without feeling miserable. If you can negotiate your debt interest or consolidate expensive debts into a more manageable one, you may save a lot of money over time. These changes are not always easy. They sometimes require difficult decisions, but they are powerful. So Rule 2 is, do not spend all your energy on tiny cuts while ignoring the big rocks. Rule 3. Understand the difference between looking rich and building wealth. Social media is full of images of success. New cars, luxury hotels, perfect clothes, expensive gadgets. From outside, it is easy to think, these people are winning at the money game. But the outside view does not show you their bank account, their debt, their stress, or their arguments. Some people have a rich life on the surface but a very fragile financial reality. Others have a simple, almost invisible lifestyle but strong foundations. They have savings. They have investments. They do not have high-interest debt. They live below their means. Wealth is not what people see. Wealth is the part of your money that stays with you. Wealth is the difference between what you own and what you owe. This means you need to decide which game you are playing. The game of appearing rich for other people, or the game of becoming more free, more stable, more peaceful inside. You cannot fully win both games at the same time. If you spend all your money and all your credit to look rich now, your future will probably be limited. If you accept to look simpler today, you may build a much stronger tomorrow. Now let us talk about one of the most important distinctions of the money game. Money you work for and money that works for you. When you go to a job, when you give a service, when you sell your time or your skills, you are working for money. This is how most people start, and there's nothing wrong with it. The problem is that your time and your energy are limited. You cannot work 24 hours a day. Your body and your mind have limits. If you want to build wealth, you need a way to create money that continues to grow even when you are not actively working. This is where investments enter. Investments can have many forms depending on your country and your situation. Simple index funds, retirement accounts, bonds, real estate, a small business. We will not go into technical details here because the rules and products vary a lot around the world. But the principle is universal. If you always consume 100% of what you earn, you give your energy to the world and keep nothing for your future. If you keep a part of what you earn and you place it in a vehicle where it can grow, you start to create a small team that works for you. In the beginning, this team is tiny. Maybe your investment is small. Maybe the growth seems irrelevant. You might think, what is the point of investing this small amount? It will never change my life. But money, just like language learning, responds very well to consistency plus time. Imagine someone who invests a small amount every month for many years. At first it feels slow. Later, when growth meets time, the effect becomes visible. This is often called compound growth. It is like planting a tree. For a while, you see almost nothing. Then you see a small plant. Later, you see a tree that gives shade and fruit. The people who give up early say, trees are useless. The people who continue say, I am happy I started when it was small. Now maybe you are thinking, this is great for people who already have money, but my reality is hard. I barely pay my bills. I am always in survival mode. If this is your situation, your feelings are valid. Many systems in the world are unfair. Wages are low. Prices are high. Opportunities are not equal. We cannot pretend that simple discipline will magically fix everything. But there is an important distinction. Understanding the game does not solve all problems, but it gives you more power than being completely lost. There is a difference between being in a difficult situation with no map and being in a difficult situation with at least some tools and orientation. Sometimes the first step in building wealth is not investing. Sometimes the first step is stopping the bleeding. For example, not creating new expensive debt, calling your bank or your lender to negotiate rates, talking with service providers to reduce your monthly expenses, finding one small extra income source to reduce pressure, selling something you do not use to pay down part of a debt. These are not glamorous steps. They will not make you an influencer, but they are real moves. They change your position in the game. Now let us talk about behavior and emotions. Money is not only math. If money was pure logic, everyone would save, invest, and avoid unnecessary risks. But we are humans. We have history, trauma, desires, and moments of weakness. We use money to regulate emotions. We feel lonely, so we buy things. We feel stressed, so we order food we cannot afford. We feel insecure, so we buy clothes to feel more confident. We feel bored, so we shop online. If we want to change our money life, we need to understand our emotional patterns. You can ask yourself, when do I normally make bad financial decisions? Is it late at night? Is it when you are tired? Is it after a fight? Is it when you are with certain friends? Is it after payday when you feel rich for a moment? When you identify these moments, you can design protections. For example, if you always spend too much at night on your phone, you can remove your card details from online stores or set a rule not to buy anything after a certain hour. If you always spend a lot with a specific friend, you can suggest cheaper activities, walks in the park, conversations at home, free events. If you always explode after payday, you can decide that the first move you will make is to pay yourself and pay your obligations before doing anything else. You are not fighting your impulses with pure willpower. You are changing the context of the game. Now let us introduce a very practical habit. Weekly money check-in. Once a week on a fixed day, you sit down for 10 to 20 minutes. You open your bank app or look at your notes. You ask, how much money came in this week? How much went out? Did I spend on things that are aligned with my priorities? Did I create or reduce debt? Do I need to adjust something before the month ends? At first, this will feel awkward. You may feel resistance. Over time, it becomes like brushing your teeth. You do not need to love it. You just do it because you know it keeps problems away. A weekly review helps you avoid big shocks at the end of the month. You see mistakes early. You see successes early. You adjust early. Another powerful habit is the pause rule. You choose a number, for example, any purchase above a certain amount. If a purchase is above that number and it is not an emergency, you do not buy immediately. You wait 24 or 48 hours. You add it to a list called, I am thinking about this. Then you ask yourself later, do I still want this? Do I still need this? Does this bring me real value? Does this help my future or only my present impulse? You will be surprised how many things stop being interesting after a day. Sometimes you will still buy, but you will buy with intention, not with automatic reaction. Now let us talk about the habit of paying yourself first. Most people organize their money like this. Money comes in. They pay bills, they buy things, they live their life. They hope something will remain at the end. Usually, nothing remains. If you want to build wealth, you need to reverse this logic. You can decide that your future is not optional. The new order becomes: money comes in. You immediately send a small percentage to savings or investments. Then you pay bills. Then you spend with more freedom. You might say, "I cannot do this. My money is not enough." Maybe you cannot start with 10%, but maybe you can start with 2% or 3%. The amount is less important than the habit and the message. Every time you transfer that small part, you are saying to yourself, "My future matters. I am not only living today, I am also building tomorrow." If possible, you can automate this transfer, so it happens without you thinking every month. Now, because this channel is also about English, let us take this opportunity to learn some practical phrases you can use to talk about money in everyday life. For example, you can say, "I am trying to build better money habits. I am learning to manage my finances step by step. I am tracking my expenses this month. I am working on paying off my debts. I am saving for an emergency fund." When you want to refuse a purchase or set a boundary, you can say, "This is not in my budget right now. I do not really need this. I just want it. I prefer to wait and think about it. I am trying to spend more intentionally. I would rather save this money for something more important." When you want to talk honestly about your situation without shame, you can say, "Right now money is tight, but I am more conscious than before. I made some mistakes in the past, but I am learning from them. I am not rich, but I am building a more stable foundation. I am focusing on the basics first, like debt, savings, and a simple investment plan." These sentences are simple, but they give you language to express your financial reality without drama. If you cannot talk about money, it is much harder to change your relationship with it. Now let us examine one of the most dangerous aspects of the money game: comparison. We live in a world where it is very easy to see the highlights of other people's lives. You see your friend in a new car. You see an influencer traveling every month. You see someone your age buying a house. It is very easy to think, "I am behind. I am failing. I am not doing enough." But remember, you are not seeing the full game. You do not see their debts. You do not see if their parents helped them. You do not see if they are using all their credit. You do not see their stress at night. Your situation is yours. Your starting point is yours. Your responsibilities are yours. Your physical and mental health are yours. The only useful comparison in this game is between you today and you in the past. You can ask, "Do I understand money better than last year? Do I make fewer impulsive decisions than before? Did I reduce a little bit of my debt? Did I create any kind of safety net? Did I at least stop moving in the wrong direction?" If the answer is yes, even in small ways, you are playing. Now, let us talk about one more important pillar: security before risk. A lot of content on the internet talks about fast ways to multiply money. Cryptocurrencies, day trading, very speculative investments. For most people, this is not the first step. For most people, the first step is building a simple safety net. A safety net is money that is easy to access, not exposed to big risk, that you can use in emergencies. If you do not have a safety net, every small problem becomes big. A broken car, a health issue, a sudden job loss. You are forced to use debt to survive. Debt can be a useful tool in some situations, but high-interest debt is a trap. When you borrow money with high interest to cover emergencies, you are sending your future self a bill plus a punishment. So, before thinking about aggressive investments, it is wise to think about protection. A common simple goal in many financial philosophies is to have at least a few months of essential expenses saved. For some people, this might be 1 month. For others, 3 months. For others, 6 months or more. The number depends on your country, your stability, and your responsibilities. This safety net is not about making you rich. It is about making you less fragile. When you have some money saved, you can breathe. You can say no to a toxic job. You can leave a bad situation. You can make better decisions, not only desperate decisions. After you have some protection, then it makes sense to gradually explore investments that can grow your wealth over time. Again, this will depend on your local reality. But the principle remains: protect first, then grow. To close, let us imagine two versions of your future. In the first version, you continue exactly as you are now, without changing anything. You do not look at your numbers. You spend by impulse. You pretend your debts are not there. You hope the future will magically fix itself. In 10 years, where are you? Maybe more debt, more stress, more fear, less freedom. In the second version, you do not become perfect. You still make mistakes. You still have fears. But you start to play consciously. You know your score. You adjust your big expenses slowly. You avoid new toxic debt. You build a small safety net. You invest a little bit regularly. You practice talking about money without shame. In 10 years, where are you? Maybe you are not a millionaire, but you have more peace, more choices, more stability, more experience. The difference between these two futures is not one giant heroic action. It is a long series of small, sometimes boring decisions. Today, you cannot jump directly to future number 2. But today, you can do one thing. You can choose one small move. You can write down your income and your main expenses. You can list your debts clearly. You can cancel one subscription you do not use. You can set up a tiny automatic transfer to savings. You can decide a pause rule for larger purchases. You can spend 10 minutes reading about a simple investment in your country. One step. Not perfect, not dramatic, consistent. Money is a game. You did not choose all the rules. You did not choose your starting level. But you can choose how you play. You can choose to close your eyes. Or you can choose to open them and learn. You can choose to repeat the patterns you received. Or you can choose to slowly create new patterns for yourself, and maybe for your family too. Building wealth step by step is not about greed. It is about building a life with more options, less fear, and more capacity to take care of what really matters. Your time, your health, your relationships, your contribution to the world. Every conscious decision with money is a small vote for the person you want to become. From someone who feels lost and afraid, to someone who knows, who chooses, and who builds. Step by step. Thanks for watching.